Good evening, Internet. I'm here today for a very special live show. I was actually going to go live yesterday, but ran into a symphony of the bullshit that I had to deal with. But I ended up filming some stuff today. I'm about to get into editing it, put it up on the website, just uploaded some new stuff over there as well. Going to be uploading some more classic stuff over there. But it's a lot going on. Recently discovered the besmirching of a good man's name, Cornel West. He is one of the people I'm unabashedly supporting. The only I was gonna say the only candidate for president that I read his books, but I read RFK's book, but I read more of Cornel West's books. And RFK has no chance of representing the Democrats. So, the only reason I support RFK was, his anti-corporate messaging, standing up against some of the biggest polluters, some of the biggest criminals in the world. I definitely separate when it comes to stuff dealing with the Palestinians. He makes it seem like people who oppose Israel's government is like people are anti-Semitic. I really just oppose all Western created governments. So that includes my own, created by the Brits. Brits also put the Israeli government in power. I'm against the UK reign. It just says it right there itself. I'm just against all those governments. Of course, I'm going to start with my own because my government has killed more of my heroes than Thanos and Darkseid combined. But it was recently brought to my attention that there's been a smear campaign against Cornel West. And it's crazy the avenue they chose to pursue to go after Cornel West, because they're making it seem like he is, he's a deadbeat dad. He's not paying his child support, and this is coming from people who support the Democrats, the Republicans, the republicrats. They're all the same to me. Sexual degenerates, like motherfucking molesters, sexual predators. Joe Biden sexually harassed someone back in the 90s, Tara Reid. She had to leave the country, go to Russia to escape his influence, his sphere of terror. And, and obviously he raised a degenerate and hunter. His oldest son died in a war that he celebrated. And he's a kid sniffer, all kinds of creepy shit. He was in his son's phone as Pedo Peter. He had multiple aliases when he was speaking for his son, getting his son jobs he didn't deserve, including Peters. What was it? Robert Peters. That's why he was Pedo Peter, because he's a pedophile slash fake name of Peters. But yeah, but this motherfucker, one of the most corrupt, sick, twisted people, like his campaign is going after Cornel West, because they're making it seem like he's not a reputable source. He's immoral. And same with Republicans, same shit. Different toilet. Trump pussy grabber in chief, just disgusting human being, albeit slightly less terrible than Joe Biden, but that's no reason for me to vote for the top two evils. So yeah, it's just kind of, it would be comical. I mean, it's certainly farcical, the way they chose to go after Cornel West, but it's just people who are just like, oh no, he's canceled, I can't vote for him. He's not a, he's not a war criminal. He, whatever. I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of his relationship with his kids if he didn't pay child support or whatever. The thing that like lets me know he's infinitely better than the competition is he's not a war criminal. He's never bombed families. He never bombed innocent people at weddings. He's all for repealing all of the policies that allowed us to do this shit with impunity, and he's the bad guy in their eyes, and that's just if it's not enough, like you're okay with voting for the more immoral person. These motherfuckers are extremely incompetent, not even incompetent. Like their abilities have degraded to the point where they're on stage having multiple strokes. Like this is, and I'm not talking about like different strokes for different folks. Like, I'm more peanut butter, you're more chocolate. No, I'm talking about Mitch McConnell. He's the lead Republican. He's on stage having a stroke again.
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's right.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator.
Okay.
This motherfucker just had his second stroke in less than a month from his last stroke. And he was diagnosed as ready to go back to work, right? Ready to go back to work. He's making the important decisions on what to do with your Social Security, on if we give your money to Ukrainian Nazis, or we giving your money to the people in Hawaii who've been paying taxes their whole life and then they just had everything burnt down, lives destroyed. Do they get $100 billion or enough to almost give them a new cell phone after they went homeless? This is the motherfucking charge. This whole system it's a joke. This whole system needs to be just brought to its knees. I would like to overthrow all of these motherfuckers, and we can see if we can get into BRICS. No Putin puppet. I wish I had Putin's number. I would be calling him up like, hey, let us get into BRICS. Let me get into BRICS personally. I got some stuff I'd like to trade. Let's start with the war criminals. I turned some of these motherfuckers in. Can I get some of the new currency you guys are gonna be trading in? I don't know. These are the things I'm just freeballing on. Nate, it would be so nice to see your face. You can't see my face? Oh yeah, I am. I got like multiple devices. So I guess the one with the fullest view is Rumble. Because Rumble, you can see my face and you can see the screen. And yeah, I guess Facebook is close to it. What the heck, Nate? Yes, don't use that kind of language. This is a family show, motherfucker. Any thoughts on Marianne? Well, Marianne Williamson, I mean, it could be argued anybody is better than Joe Biden. That's an easy argument to make. But Marianne Williamson, not the biggest fan. She's one of those rah, let's go Ukraine. Let's fund this war. This is that one good war. I don't believe anything my government says, especially when my government says anything about someone else's government, because my government is funded by corporations. Until we abolish the corporation, there's no reason for me to trust anybody in power, because they only got to power by obeying corporations. And in my view, it's corporations versus humanity. versus all life on the planet. But you know, anyone who could just casually just be like, yeah, no, we should fund Ukraine, we should fund these Nazis. There's some good Nazis out there. You have no legitimacy to me. Maybe it's also because I just come from the group of people who have to sacrifice for the empire. Both my parents worked at military bases that were knowingly poisoning them. So it's like I got exposed to that. The fact that my government is evil at a very young age. No one was ever brought to justice. It's weird how people could be like, oh yeah, the CIA, yeah, they were bad way back in the day. FBI, they were bad way back in the day under Hoover. But then they got their shit together. When did anyone ever have to fucking do a perp walk? When did you ever see like the CIA members who were in charge of all these wars, in charge of all these operations that strip you of your rights, kill people, you know, assassinate popular leaders? When have you ever seen anybody in the CIA do a perp walk? I've never seen it. That's why it's like when people say, oh, they were bad back in the day, but they got their shit together. It's like, but who, why, how did they get this shit together? What wouldn't enforce them to get their shit together? Incentivize them. They just, you know, they never had to like face justice, period. You know, they just get like more power and they operate in darker shadows. So it's just like, you know, the Democrats, the Republicans, well, especially the Democrats. Democrats are CIA bitches. That's why the media loves the Democrats. They shit on people like Donald Trump. They try to hand the reins over from the Donald Trump wing, which is Donald Trump ain't shit. Donald Trump is he's a real estate lobbyist. Like, you give him power, he's going to take your homes, leave you out in the streets. It's going to be a bunch of corporations owning all your housing. I'm one of those people crazy enough to think that corporations shouldn't own shit. They shouldn't own any property. They shouldn't own residential or business property. The business should be owned by the people who work there. The residential should be owned by the people who live there. You know, you shouldn't be be able to profit off of people's basic necessities like that. Donald Trump he's against that. However, when it where he is, why I say he's better than Joe Biden. Joe Biden he's all for giving corporations the ability to own your house, own all your business. He'll fund them infinitely like Donald Trump would. But Donald Trump, he is not as big a war hawk. Like he's like, you know what? Let's not with the biological weapons. You know, I'll talk to North Korea. You know, we bombed Korea. We killed 20% of their population. Like we eradicated all their rice paddies, all this shit. I'm for not doing that. Let's just take from the American people. Let's just take their houses. We don't have to push for World War III. You know, Joe Biden, he's like, yeah, I'll take your house. I'll have you in the streets. I'll get you on the zombie drug. And I'll also push for World War III as well. You know, so it's not like either is a good choice. But Donald Trump is the less shitty choice. And this is something I was trying to explain even back when Hillary was running. Like, you know, Donald Trump, he's horrible. But at least the media was critical of him. Like Hillary, they made it seem like her shit did not stink. Same with Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, I got like a video on NatesVlogs.net just uploaded. It's kind of like my interpretation of how the news covers the Democrats. They make it seem like everything is gravy. It's all good in the hood. If you got anything critical to say about them, you're crazy. Oskar Schindler was a good Nazi, just saying. They even buried him in Israel to honor the work of saving the Jews, just saying. Honor the work of saving the Jews. Let's talk about Israel and their connection with the Nazis. All right. See, Ashkenazi Jews ends with Nazi. They had a Nazi movement. Hitler, let's not forget he was Jewish as well. Let's not forget that the Balfour Declaration, where they assigned Palestinian land to European Jews, was signed 1917, 1918, way before the rise of Hitler. Then Hitler's rise was funded by British government, funded by American business, like Prescott Bush. He was one of those people who helped to handpick fucking Hitler, right? Then they punish Nazi Germans by stealing Palestinian land, just like they said they were going to do in the Balfour Declaration. And then they just gave it to a bunch of Europeans under the guns of the British. Right? Does any of that seem right? Does any of that make sense? And Hitler's whole purpose, like when he even wrote about it, the Third Reich, their whole purpose was to set the table for the Fourth Reich, which is the U.S. government. My government is the fucking Fourth Reich. Right? First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire. This is like the Western governments, the end of the history, as they refer to it, because as soon as they take over, your history is wiped. They make it seem like your people ain't shit, and you look to your benevolent leader for all change. They want you to just shut the fuck up and don't get involved in the streets. No political movements. You wait for the president to tell you what you got to do, or whatever your leader is called, chancellor, whatever. But Holy Roman Empire, British Empire, Third Reich was the German Empire, set table for the Fourth Reich, U.S. Empire, and of course, matter of fact, I was just reading a book on the Queen Liliuokalani of Hawaii. She was like the last queen through their bloodline, the Kamehameha bloodline. And when she went to Europe, she went on a trip. This was around the time they were plotting to steal her land. They were showing off all their military, all the shit they had. But one of the things she noticed, like the old British Empire, they had a bunch of veterans who had returned from these wars. They had their limbs blown off and they were suffering, all that shit. And then around the time we had the Lend-Lease program that was set up by Winston Churchill, that's when they assigned us the duties of creating the weapons. Then we became like the empire's bitch. Like we're the muscle for the European governments to go rob, steal, plunder all of the places they want to go. Because before we got into Iraq, the British were invading Iraq back in the 1920s, right? Then around the 1990s, we went in there with the British, and it's like, oh, it's the Americans, that's their thing. But is it really our thing? Or is it the British thing? And then we're the people who have the numbers to back it up. We're going to be sacrificing our civilians to prop up their corporations. British Petroleum, all that shit. I mean, they broke that shit up and made it seem like it's no longer around. But yeah, we're bitches to the empire. I don't even view us as in charge of everything. And then like I said, they also, people, it's crazy when people like, Israel runs the U.S. They call all the shots. No, they don't. The people who put them there call the shots. The British, the biggest trick that devil ever pulled was convincing you he didn't exist. I remember that was like the first time I called George Galloway. I was trying to convince him of this fact. And he was like, oh, you think we're all 007s? We're far more incompetent. No, you're not. My government is run by corporations. My politicians are corporate bitches, right? The city of London is an actual corporation. Coincidence? I think not. Just like when East India Company was the world's largest corporations. They enslaved and killed over 140 Indian people within 40 years. Now all of the biggest corporations are based in my country. And and they see to it that we continue to perpetuate all of their settler colonial governments, including Israel. We take care of Australia. Like we bear all the burdens. Well, more specifically, the taxpayers, right? Because we pay for all these corporations. They take their money, they hide it in Europe, usually Ireland, because they say it's a lower tax rate. But it's like, you get all your money from us. You should be paying taxes back to us. But they're paying their taxes to Europe. Why? Because they're Europe's bitch. Wasn't your dad a landlord or something? Yes. Yeah. Well, a lot of my family was in the landlords. I got like, my maternal grandparents had millions of dollars in property. That's how I know for a fucking fact the people who own all the property, they're some of the shadiest motherfuckers in the world, especially if it's the second, third, umpteenth generation. Cause yeah, it was cutthroat. I was just looking at it like, this is my family. I don't have to look at a lawyer for any of this shit. But I had like my own aunt just like screwing me over. She had my cousin, all kinds of deceit. Just like once you go through some shit like that, you don't know who to trust, because you have like people who you grew up with lying to you to your face, so they can make more money than they could spend. And why? It's greed. And then I heard it was a similar story with the Koch brothers, because it's like two Koch brothers that we know. One of them died, but they had more Koch brothers, and the other two, or however many it was, they bowed out because like the two who wanted all that money, they were cutthroat for it, and they pulled all the tricks in the books, and everybody else just gave up because it's like it's not worth it. And when my dad was a landlord, I mean, he got fucked over, because you gotta keep in mind he was a black landlord, but he went to refinance through someone who ended up like fucking him over, taking the properties from him. But before that happened, he was, we were in a poor neighborhood, so when the economy hit, the people at the bottom, they hit the people in his housing first, because he was just giving jobs to people who or giving housing to people who he thought needed it. But when they couldn't pay it, or they got sprung on drugs or whatever the fuck happened, he had to get a gun. I was with him on several trips where he had to like brandish a pistol because somebody wouldn't pay, and he was worried about losing a place, which is why he went to the dude who robbed him. So yeah, it's like you have to become a certain kind of person to be that landlord. And I got other family who like they adapted to it quite well because they're soulless. Like, they're just, that's what they do. Like, they can be cutthroat. They got no problems watching a family live in squalor. Like they could like hear stories about a kid living with roaches and rats, and they don't think they should get an exterminator. So yeah, I don't view anybody as my lord. I've never referred to someone as my landlord. If you need that kind of power trip over somebody, there's something wrong with you. But yeah, it's just like so many people, they desire that because they're so insecure and insignificant, and they need that kind of power over someone just so they can feel. Just so you think people like Bill Gates, probably the cutest billionaire, still just a heinous person, You think anybody like him would ever get laid if he didn't have enough money to buy and sell your rashy ass? No. Like he needs that. He needs. Not only does he need $100 billion, even though what can you get with $2 billion that you can't get with one, he needs you to be broke. So he needs to take the money directly from you. He needs to make sure that you're not making enough money to survive. Your cost of living is going up. So you're struggling. Your head is underwater. You can't figure out which way is up. And then he comes by with like, some change in his pocket. Nothing to him. And it's all your tax money. He's like pulling from your taxes and he's like, hey, here's a little chunk of change. And of course he does it on an island like Epstein Island. That's why he was big friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Because he meets you on an island. You're secluded away from everyone. You got no way home, no money, and you don't know how you're gonna get home. You can't swim. You can't call an Uber. You're struggling. He's like, you want to fly my private plane, bitch? Give me your kid. Give me your. I want access to your kid's dookie shoot. And then he does unspeakable things to you and your children because he's a sick person. And those are the people who run our society. If you look at Epstein's flight log, it's all of the people in government right now, all of the superstars, all of the people who you just, they're household names. How do you get a household name? You have to be in the club, and it's a big club and you ain't in it. Well, if you are in it, I don't trust you. I've been trying to comment on Rumble, but it won't let me. But I found you on YouTube. Yeah, Rumble is a tricky situation. I can't see the comments on it. Sometimes I see them after the show is gone. But I appreciate you figuring out how to get a comment in. It's always fun to have a lively discussion. Hola, Nate. I lost my mom recently, so I can relate. Well, yeah, that's one of those things. Yeah, I lost my mom relatively young. I was 12. And it just, set me on the path. I mean, first the path of destruction. But it ultimately, it gave me a lot of insight. And and that, because I was, I lost her when I was at my worst, 12. Just think of when you were 12. Were you an ideal kid? Maybe some people were, but I was a shithead. So I called my mom all kinds of shit outside of her name, did all kinds of shit that I regretted, and I just lived with it. First few years, it was just mostly hating myself, for just what I did, what I said. I squandered all opportunities, when my mom died, or before she died, when she was getting sick, that was the first time I got on honor roll, because I thought if I really focus on my grades, get my shit together, that'll encourage her to get better. I'm thinking I have the power to change everything because she's only suffering because, I'm such a shithead. So I got on honor roll, by the time I was in 7th grade, I got in all advanced classes. Then she died, realized I did it for nothing. Well, I thought I did it for nothing. And then I just, reverted back to my old ways. It got worse, spun out of control a little bit. But, once I started to like adjust, figure shit out, it made me appreciate the relationships I did have more. So by the time my dad died, I had just a totally different relationship with him. I was able to appreciate him. Like a lot of my siblings weren't, because they had this competitive bullshit with him. I was able to appreciate his wisdom. I mean, that also took me to get like to a point, like a ripe old age, move out of his house. Then you start to, miss him. But, that's like a process. I encourage anyone to do it. You gotta break away to realize, how important the people are to you. If you love something, let it go, and it'll come back if it's yours. SMH, so true. Well, yeah, it's one of those things, you know. Like sometimes you know, I because one of the things I noticed, I am I am not as quick to freak out as most people because I had such loss at such an age, and you know, like some people, they just can't understand how I'm not freaking out about certain things, and they can freak out about the littlest shit because they haven't had the worst day of their life yet. and and once you have like something that bad happen, it gives you more perspective on you know, what can really go wrong. And you know, that would be something that's hard to tell someone in the moment after losing a parent. But that's something I came away with it from. I came away with it with. Thoughts on Kennedy candidate? Well, you know, I loved his book on exposing the corporations and how they corrupt our regulatory bodies, and he was pretty on point when speaking about like corporate overreach, censorship, all that good shit. He's, you know, I mean, he would make a great vice president. But yeah, you know, like there's no way the Democrats are going to allow him to get the nomination. That's one issue. They'll have they'll have Joe Biden debate Mitch McConnell or what's her name, Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Boxer, anybody who had a stroke and who can easily stroke out on camera. But they will not have him debate RFK Jr. They will never allow him to be a Democrat. But I have this secret theory that he is not expecting to be a Democrat, and that he's only gaining all of this recognition so he could eventually become Cornel West's vice president. And that's why he's also shitting the bed on Israel, because he doesn't want the Israeli lobby to destroy him. Also, if he becomes the vice president, he's not in charge of foreign policy. You know, so you let Cornel West deal with the foreign policy, let him like no, stop funding Israel, and then you have RFK Jr. in charge of like reining in the corporate power, seeing to it that they face justice. We get a few big CEOs to do some perp walks. We stop funding all this bullshit. No more corporate welfare. All that money goes to revitalizing locally owned business, so you can get a business loan once the big corporations go out of business to replace McDonald's and Walmart or whatever the fuck you got in your town, and people would make a much higher salary. All the corporately owned property that gets put in the hands of the people who live there. Now, then you got no empty homes. You know, we start to like erode homelessness. We got like a group of people, social workers, that go around in the streets and talk to homeless people and just give their like the formerly corporate owned homes into the people who really need it. Yeah, that was my brother, and I can only imagine how he felt after she was gone. Yeah, that's yeah, different people take it different ways. So I was wrecked. I remember the first day after my mom died, I thought it was a dream. I had to like confirm with my sister it was make sure it was real. I was like, man, I had this weird dream. Mom died. And yeah, that's when it was just like it started to connect. And we still had to go to school the next day, ironically. I know people who take all that shit off. I mean, we never took a day off for nothing. I mean, I eventually got to the point where I was skipping school, but you know, when my dad had control, he didn't he didn't want us to skip for nothing. Me and my mom were codependent one on one another. So figuring out the world is hard as hell. Well, the girl meets world. It's one of those things you're gonna figure it out. She equipped you with the tools to figure it out, to be decisive and whatnot. Yeah, just don't say what you can't do. Just say what you haven't done yet, and then make an attempt to make it happen and do it damn well. Yes, I feel like nothing could ever take me that low again, literally. Yeah. Yes, it's one of those life-changing events. Someone who's known you since your birth. You know, they knew what you wanted before you did. They understood you better than anybody. They're gone. However, they live on through you, so it's not like they're really, really gone, because they imparted what they knew to you. And it's just about like taking their light that they endowed you with and taking it to the world. And you know what? For what it's worth, all of the accomplishments I was able to make happen, you know, the insights I had from my parents, like the realizations, you know, the stuff that really helped people connect to my content came from them. And all of my career was furthered by all that. And, you know, the issue is that I continue to try to bring justice to what happened to them, because, you know, they were killed by my government as well. So I speak out against a lot of the stuff that affected them, because it affects me, it affects everybody, really. I don't want to see someone else in the same position as my parents. But, you know, it's just like a continuance of the legacy. And you just gotta bring forward the best of your parents, and just you know, let your light shine. She most definitely did her job. I'm ready for the challenge. Well, yeah, keep on stepping up. That's what's up. I get it for sure. I would hope someone would. I was like, that's the Dave Chappelle hat dude. What? Been watching you for 10 years. Like, what? You CIA? You got a camera? You got a camera in my house? Well, yeah, I didn't realize I was, it was getting so late, but I did enjoy this live. I got a pretty busy week, so I do hope to do another live on Saturday, but it's probably going to be a weird hour, not at all 5-ish, but, you know, we'll see how that goes. And, yeah, and I'll be uploading more content on NatesVlogs.net. I just uploaded a few new videos. I shot a new video today. I'm going to be editing that, and it's going to be live shortly. So NatesVlogs.net, rumble.com/NatesVlogs. Okay. I know. I figured that was coming. All right. So, yeah. So, thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. And hope to see you here on Saturday. And I might do something in between now and Saturday, probably tomorrow, because the 7th I'm going to be booked after that. I got like some big fucking shit going on. So probably gonna film that and share it with y'all eventually. So stay tuned for all of it. And toodles, you silly poodles.